Now, the Crimewatch Incident Desk, where we invite the police to appeal to you directly. Here are Constable Helen Phelps and Superintendent David Hatcher.
First on the incident desk, how this distinctive jewellery could help solve a murder. Mrs. Connie Aris was 73, a widow who lived alone in Roman Road, Cheltenham. She was last seen alive on Wednesday the 27th of February. A neighbour saw her standing outside her house, number 32, at 7:15 that evening. The following morning, she was found battered to death in her home. Missing from the house was some distinctive jewellery. It's a vital clue. These stick pins are exact replicas of presentation pieces from her late husband's time working at pressed steel. And his watch was also engraved with pressed steel and H. Aris. If you've seen them, or if you were in Roman Road, Cheltenham on February the 27th, we'd like to hear from you.
And have you seen any of these? On February the 17th, £18,000 worth of horse tack, including 4 unusual point-to-point saddles, like this one, was stolen from Dorchester Saddlery at Warmwell in Dorset. The two-tone colour and the distinctive shape would make these stand out at any market sale. These are Crimewatch video fits of the two men who came asking for saddle oil the day before, but may have been after rather more. The one on the left is around 30, 6 foot and heavily built. The other is only 5'7" and in his mid-30s. But that theft in Warmwell was only the first of a series around Dorset and Hampshire. Flanders Farm near Sway lost £8,000 worth of equipment on March the 3rd. 9 days later, near Ferndown, Stocks Farm Equestrian Centre was hit. And finally, Willand House Stables on March the 31st. But it's the tack itself we want you to look out for. Everything that went from Ferndown was stamped with SFEC, even the stirrups. So check any tack you've bought in the last 2 months and give us a ring if you've been offered any on the cheap.
On Friday the 4th of January this year, Mrs. Evelyn Sarah Ake, who was 53, went missing from her home just outside Northallerton in North Yorkshire. Her car was found parked outside the railway station 20 hours later, but she'd given no indication to her family that she'd be going away. Since his wife's disappearance, her husband has received 2 anonymous phone calls from a Scotswoman claiming she knows where Mrs. Ake is. If she's watching the programme, we'd like her to ring us now in confidence. Evelyn Ake ran a turkey farm and last December gave an interview to Radio York about the effect of aircraft noise on the turkeys. Listen to her voice.
Well, I was getting over this fence in the field and these jets came from nowhere and whether it was the shock of them or the waves from the aircraft, by the time I came to pick myself up, they were way out of sight. And of course, you know, it frightens you.
If you recognise Evelyn's voice or you've seen her, please give us a ring.
£22,000 worth of watches were stolen from this jeweller's in the centre of Cardiff on the 16th of January at 5 p.m. The only thing the thieves left behind was this, the sledgehammer they smashed their way in with. It's similar to those used for knocking in wedges on railway lines, except this one's much smaller, only £7 instead of 14, and it has a slightly pointed edge. There was a die stamp on the handle, but it's been scratched off. If you manufacture or hire out this sort of sledgehammer, give us a ring.
And we've 3 faces in our photo call this month. Hampshire police are anxious to trace James Nally Ray. He's wanted for the attempted murder of Keith Harmon at Andover on March the 16th. James Ray is in his 40s, 5'10" and heavily built. He also has a blue heart tattoo with Carol beneath it on his left arm. If you've seen him, we'd like to know.
And Scotland Yard detectives are anxious to trace this man in connection with a £3 million fraud. His name is Klaus Buzan. He's about 5'8" with dark brown hair and has a noticeable limp. He also has a pronounced German accent. He may be driving around in this black Opel Kadett. It's a left-hand drive from Germany, but with a British registration number, AGF 153W. And you may have seen Klaus Buzan with his girlfriend. Her name's Angelika Gleeps. She's only 4'10" with long blonde hair, and she too has a strong German accent. Quite a distinctive couple. So if you think you've seen this man, or you've spotted his car, please give us a ring.
This young man is Ian Emerson Elliott. Northumbria Police and his parents need your help to trace him. He simply disappeared from his home at Whitfield in Northumberland on December the 19th, 1983. He was 18 then, a shy, retiring person who loved the farm he worked on. We don't think he went voluntarily. If you've ever seen him, or if you've seen any of the faces in our photo call, give us a ring.
And finally, we've had an urgent appeal from Sussex Police. They're anxious to find this red Ford Sierra car, registration number A280HLE, in connection with a murder in Worthing on Monday night. If you can help with this, or any of the other cases on the incident desk, please ring us.
And the number to ring, if you can help in any way, is 01 811 8055. 01 811 8055.
On the Crimewatch UK incident desk last month, we asked for information about the disappearance of Mrs. Evelyn Ake from her home in Northallerton. We've heard today that a man has been charged with her murder. With this month's cases, here are Constable Helen Phelps and Superintendent David Hatcher.
First on incident desk, two men in Birmingham who've been regular visitors to the Leeds Permanent Building Society. On the 20th of March this year, they robbed the Sheldon branch, and this is the film from the security camera. If we stop there, we get a good look at the one with the gun. He's about 5'8" and well built. He wore brown trousers and a grey anorak. Perhaps someone will recognise the other man despite his false beard and moustache. He's only 5'6", very slim with short dark hair. He wore jeans and a black jacket. This method is the same they've used on other occasions. They've robbed at least two other building societies, on the 26th of February in Spark Hill and most recently on the 11th of April in Quinton, both in Birmingham. So if you recognise either or both of them, give us a ring.
On 3 occasions in February and March this year, a man called on families in the Stepney area of East London. He is claimed to be a health official and a doctor. In fact, on every occasion he indecently assaulted members of the families concerned. He's described as well built, 5'7" to 5'8", and thought to be aged between 30 and 40. If you think you recognise him, give us a call. And a general word of warning. If a doctor calls on you unrequested and asks to do a medical examination, call the police. Real doctors don't make house calls unless you've asked for them. And should anyone claim to be a health worker, ask to see their identity card. This is one from Stepney, but they may look a little different in other areas. If they haven't got a card, don't let them in.
On Sunday, May the 12th, a hand grenade was found in Station Road, Beaconsfield in Buckinghamshire. The area was sealed off except for 4 builders working near a boutique who were allowed to stay where they were. At least it was assumed they were builders. In fact, they were actually thieves. The bomb scare was a coincidence, but while it lasted, the men loaded up about £120,000 worth of designer clothes and shoes. They appeared in Vogue last month, and they're very distinctive. Names like Jasper Conran, Roland Klein and Caroline Charles, and are rarely offered at sale prices. These are exact copies of the stolen dresses. They would normally cost over £300 each. And have you seen any of the Charles Jourdain shoes which were carted out of the shop in brown rubbish bags? All 300 pairs of them. And a final clue, the robbers used this jemmy to break in. It's made by Keen Tools and was probably sold in a small hardware shop where they've written the price on in felt tip. If you've sold it or if you've seen the dresses, we'd love to hear from you.
This is Whittington Hospital, which is in Highgate in North London. On the 28th of May, 110 patients had to be evacuated because of a fire which was started deliberately. The damage to the building was estimated to be over £500,000, but thankfully, although lives were threatened, no one was actually hurt. The 28th of May was a Tuesday, the day after the bank holiday Monday, and the fire was discovered in a corridor at 8:50 p.m. in the archway wing, only yards from acutely ill patients. It's believed the fire was started by someone setting alight cardboard boxes and linen baskets. Even if you think you can't help, we want to hear from everyone who visited the archway wing of the hospital on Tuesday, 28th of May, between 8 and 9 p.m, particularly visitors in wards A1 to A5.
Thames Valley Police need your help to clear up a fraud. On the 15th of March, over £168,000 cash was paid out for some heavy plant machinery. The machinery was never delivered and the cash just disappeared. Detectives believe that this man, David Beatles, may be able to help their inquiry. Mr. Beatles and his wife and 2 children have left their home in Wokingham, but he has connections in the Andover area and we understand that he did have plans to buy a guest house in the West Country. So if you're an estate agent in the West Country or if you've seen this man in your local, please give us a ring.
And finally, a bit of a mystery. Sussex Police need to find out where these came from. The brass crucifix would have had coloured enamel here, but most of it's worn off. And the candlesticks are both the same height, but made for candles of differing thickness. They look as though they may have once belonged in a church. Now, we can't tell you yet the story that lies behind these objects, but if you can tell us where they definitely came from, we may have an intriguing tale to tell you next month.
And if you've anything to tell us about the cases on this month's incident desk, do give us a call.
And the number to ring, if you can help in any way, is 01811 8055. 01811 8055.
And now with the Crimewatch incident desk, here are Constable Helen Phelps and Superintendent David Hatcher.
We start the incident desk with the murder of William Austin last Saturday night. He was shot during a raid by three masked men at the home of Mrs Ellen Ditcher near Maidstone in Kent. Mrs Ditcher, who's 74, was also shot and is still in hospital. One of the men fired a crossbow, and that may be how you can help solve this appalling crime. A 6-inch crossbow bolt was found at the scene. These are usually fired from a small handheld bow. But Mrs Ditcher remembers a larger bow, something like this. But the limbs, that's this bit, appeared wooden and ornately decorated. If you've seen anybody with one of these recently, or if you've had one stolen, ring us now so we can find these men as soon as possible.
North Yorkshire Police urgently need your help to track down a rapist. His most recent attack was on Wednesday the 12th of June on the York University campus. It happened just after midnight near this lane. It's a route many students use as a shortcut. A man was seen riding a red moped slowly down the lane. He was wearing a dark leather jacket and a light-coloured crash helmet. He parked his moped halfway down the lane. Now, we are anxious for this man to ring us now and eliminate himself from the inquiry. They also want to trace anyone who came home late that night spattered with mud. But there was another attack 2 weeks earlier in the same field. It happened on the night of Friday the 24th of May, and this is a Crimewatch video fit of the rapist. He was about 5'10", well-built and spoke with a Yorkshire accent. He had a weather-beaten complexion and his hair was slightly receding. Officers strongly suspect that there is a connection between the two attacks and are sure that he will strike again. Remember, you can ring us now, in confidence.
Officers investigating a murder in Brixton need urgent assistance. Martin Daly was killed on December the 19th last year, and Metropolitan Police want to trace this man in connection with his murder. He uses the name Tony, and he's also believed to be a dealer in cocaine and heroin. Police are certain he's been in Liverpool in the last month. They know that he's got a friend there called Peter, another black man aged 35 who's 6 feet tall. Tony has hired vehicles in Liverpool and driven them south to Gatwick Airport, where detectives believe he collects the drugs. Remember what he looks like, because we also know he's been in Walsall in Staffordshire recently, staying there with a man called George. In fact, we know quite a lot about his movements, but we need your call to find out where he is now.
On the night of May the 14th, the Smoker's Paradise was burgled. The House of Pipes Museum in Bramber, Sussex, has probably the largest collection of antique pipes in the world. After breaking in through the roof, the burglars opened the presentation cabinets and stole 200 of these German pipes. Collectors would recognise them easily as 19th century meerschaum pipes. You can see from some they left behind that they're quite extraordinary. Some have heads on the bowls, there are birds and animals too, all intricately carved down to the last detail. Now, items like these just couldn't go unnoticed by dealers, so let us know if you've been offered any of these weird and wonderful smoking implements.
Last December, 2 armed robbers in Oldham got away with a large Christmas bonus, nearly £500,000. It happened on the 20th of December as a security van drove through the Daisy Nook Country Park. A couple of 100 yards further on, the van would have passed this suitably named landmark. Police investigating the robberies suspect that the money is still being stored somewhere. It was carried in 41 ammunition boxes like this. None of them have turned up yet. They were loaded into a box van similar to this Ford D series van stolen in Manchester the night before the robbery. It too is still missing. Part of the cash was in £20 notes. These are some of the serial numbers that have been circulated to all national banks, and so far none of these new notes have reappeared. A reward is being offered for information leading to conviction or recovery of the money. It's £48,000, so if you know anything, can you afford to keep quiet?
Police in West London are keen to speak to 2 bogus callers. They're both women and have a very unusual routine. First call was Bledlow House in Lisson Green back in March. Here, an elderly man believed their story about a car breaking down. He offered them tea and the use of his telephone, but they took some of his cash and silver and made a fast exit. By May, they developed their act by dressing up as nuns, armed with collecting boxes. Here in the Edgware Road, they called on a small tailoring business. One kept staff talking, whilst the other snatched an envelope containing £600. In early June, they were in Parkway in Camden Town, where they stopped for lunch at the Golden Grill restaurant. The owner found their behaviour odd, especially when he noticed one had jewellery and eye makeup. Both are in their 30s and noticeably short, about 5'2". One has ginger hair and a soft Irish accent, and the other has dark hair and a London accent. They were last seen just 9 days ago, joking with a man in the front of a yellow transit van, just off Oxford Street. Give us a call if you've seen them, or if you can help with any of this month's incident desk cases.
And again, the number to ring if you can help is 01811 8055. That's 01811 8055. Well, now the Crimewatch Incident Desk. Here are Constable Helen Phelps and Superintendent David Hatcher.
First on the incident desk, a sad story with an urgent appeal. Cyril Martin is 63. He's a widower from Maidenhead and has 6 children. Recently, he's been sleeping rough in a disused outhouse at the back of the old art college in Maidenhead. On Wednesday morning, the 21st of August, workmen found Mr. Martin unconscious in the outhouse. He'd been severely beaten about the head and is now critically ill. It's thought he'd been robbed. The night before, that's Tuesday the 20th of August, he'd spent the evening at the Bell pub in King Street. He left at 5 to 11 and walked about 300 yards to the Brewer's Tea House, where he was seen talking to 2 men. Those 2 men have not yet come forward. They can ring us tonight in confidence. From the pub, Mr. Martin would have taken the pedestrian subway under the A4, walked back along Marlow Road, and then along this lane down the side of the art college. He was wearing a scruffy donkey jacket and possibly a check cap and glasses. If you saw him, or anyone with him, or if you were in those pubs at closing time, please ring us now.
Viewers in Merseyside may be able to help us find a rapist. The attack was 3 weeks ago on Friday, the 9th of August. A woman was jogging on the seafront at Crosby at 8 o'clock that morning. As she passed these railings, a man grabbed her, dragged her inside a nearby shelter, and then raped her. When another jogger came past, the rapist ran off, across the car park, towards the swimming baths in Mariners Road, and then disappeared. But we do have a good description. He's about 30 years old, 5'10", with light brown or ginger hair and a moustache. He's broad-shouldered and about 12 stone. If you recognise him, please ring us. And there's another clue. He was wearing overalls exactly like these. You can see they're a distinctive blue. Perhaps you know someone who wears similar ones at work. So remember, a 12-stone man with ginger brown hair and a moustache who wears bright blue overalls. Your call could prevent another rape.
Next, an attempted armed robbery which began in a wheelchair and ended in a puff of orange smoke. On Saturday the 20th of July, an Armour Guard security van was making its weekly collection at the hypermarket in Widnes in Cheshire. It was 5:15. As the guard went in, he noticed 2 men. One was in a wheelchair. A few minutes later, when he came out, the man in the wheelchair had miraculously recovered and produced a shotgun. They attacked the guard and forced him to drop the cash box, and then they made their getaway in a white Ford Orion. The security guards gave chase in their van, and when suddenly orange smoke poured out of the cash box, the robbers panicked and threw it out of the window. The car was abandoned in St Paul's Road, right where the buses stop. This blue-black jumper and these tracksuit trousers were left in the car. You can still see the orange smoke stain on the trousers. And they also left behind this army-style kit bag. It had the number 244-86696 and the name Sapper Ryan Thomas on it. If you recognise any of this lot, or if you saw the car being abandoned, ring us before these 2 try the same thing again.
Sussex Police need your help to find another armed robber. The security camera at the Alliance Building Society took this video of him entering their branch in Dyke Road, Hove. It was 10:30 in the morning of July the 29th. At this moment, he was pulling a gun on the cashier, and he then passed her a note demanding cash. She did as she was asked and gave him £1,000. Another cashier and the customer, who'd just come in, could only stand and watch as the man filled up his bag and calmly walked out with his gun in his hand. Do you recognise him? He's in his late 20s and 6 foot tall. The moustache is probably false, and his cap is hiding longish hair. If you saw him on July the 29th, that was a Monday, or if you know who he might be, please ring us.
There's been a spate of car radio thefts from Vauxhall compounds throughout the south of England. So far, over £350,000 worth have gone. They began in Oxford in April when 40 radios were stolen in one night. Throughout May, car pounds from Croydon to Gravesend lost over 100 radios, and last on the list was Newhaven on the night of May the 28th. The car pound there is on New Road, and the routine was crude but effective. The thief or thieves smashed the rear quarter lights and then removed the radios. On that night, 104 radios were stolen. These are the models that we're looking for. They're Philips PLL quartz tuning radio cassettes, model number 441 and 741. You don't often find these at ordinary retail outlets. Most of them are fitted into Vauxhall cars. So if you've been offered any Philips radio cassettes on the cheap, remember the numbers 441 or 741, then give us a ring.
And the number to ring if you can help with any of those cases is 01 811 8055. 01 811 8055.
And now the Crimewatch Incident Desk. Here are Constable Helen Phelps and Superintendent David Hatcher.
First, some positive developments from crimes we've already covered this year. In January, a viewer in Dorset recognised something familiar in this appeal.
And finally, a sticky problem for thieves in the West Country. They're probably trying to get rid of 31,000 cans of stolen Silver Crin hairspray, and all of them fairly new to the market.
The cans of hairspray were in a stolen trailer in a man's farmyard. And a result of his call, 5 people were arrested in connection with the theft. All were found guilty and received a variety of jail sentences and heavy fines.
In March, we joined these images together from 2 separate armed robberies using the Crimewatch video fit process. It gave detectives a complete picture of a man who'd robbed 15 building societies. 2 weeks ago, he began a 9-year jail sentence for crimes which netted more than £18,000.
And in August, we featured a £500,000 armed robbery of a security van near the Crime View pub in Oldham. Police have now recovered most of the money and charged 8 people in connection with that robbery.
And now this month's cases. The first is a murder in broad daylight on a busy London street. Just before 3 o'clock on Wednesday the 21st of August, 2 men robbed this Security Express van at the National Westminster Bank on the corner of Old Oak Road, Acton. They got away with over £16,000, but not before security guard Sid Dundon had been shot dead on the steps of the bank. Witnesses got a good look at the 2 robbers. One is described as black, stocky and in his 20s, and he may well have been carrying a black Adidas bag. The other was white, about 5 foot 10 inches tall, with a fresh complexion. Tattooed on his right arm, a bikini-clad woman like this, outlined in dark blue and gold dots, with writing on the bikini bottoms. This is the crash helmet he wore for the robbery. It was later found dumped near the getaway car. It's a Grand Prix make in black with gold trim, and when new it would have had a Phil Reed sticker here. And of course, it wouldn't have been damaged like this. The helmet was found with these black vinyl and cloth green gloves. You can see they're a bit torn now. So if you recognise this damaged crash helmet, give us a ring and perhaps solve a murder.
Next, a series of clues that could help catch a rapist. In our film, a policewoman from Sussex plays the part of the victim. The reconstruction begins at the Bolney Crossroads, where the A23 London to Brighton road crosses the A272. It was 3 o'clock and a woman was hitching on the slip road leading south to the Brighton road. She was wearing a beige cardigan and a long green skirt. A car stopped within a few minutes. It was a red hatchback, possibly a Ford Fiesta. They travelled south down the A23 for about 6 miles, but then turned off just north of Pycombe towards the Devil's Dyke, a local beauty spot. It was just a mile further on, near the Brighton and Hove Golf Club, where she was raped. Her attacker, believed to be around 25, about 5'9", with short brown curly hair, was wearing dark blue heavy cotton jacket trousers. We also know he has bad acne scars on his face. He told the girl he was a lorry driver and that he's recently split up with his girlfriend. And we know he smokes Rothman's cigarettes. But perhaps this is the most important clue. A first aid box. And it lay in full view on a shelf on the passenger side of the car. Perhaps you know someone who fits our profile and who drives a red hatchback. If you do, ring us.
Our next case is a particularly mean theft. Back in March, the parishioners of St Andrew's Church, Bedford, began work on this old Land Rover chassis. Months later, they were ready to present the results of their efforts to the Reverend Hall Spears, who flew in from his mission in Madagascar, especially to collect the Land Rover. Everything looked set until Friday the 27th of September, when the Land Rover was stolen from Little Staunton Airfield near St Neots. It was a left-hand drive, and its registration number was ARO 700X. On its side, the words "Gift from St Andrew's Church, Bedford" were clearly visible. Villagers in Madagascar badly needed that Land Rover. If you've seen it or been asked to respray it, give us a ring.
A regular visitor to building societies throughout North London has so far stolen over £13,000 since the end of August. He's struck 10 times to date, and in 5 cases he's been caught on the camera. Our first picture of him was taken on the 31st of August at the Nationwide in Haringey. 2 weeks later in Camden, the Leeds Permanent had a visit, but the cashier refused to serve him. Next, it was a Nationwide in Holloway. Unbeknown to him, the camera caught his reflection in the glass. He claims to be armed and demands money from the cashier. Here at the Leeds Permanent, he got away with £1,800, minus a bob or two. But the best picture was taken just 6 days ago in Hampstead Gardens suburb. He's between 25 and 35 years old, about 5'8" tall, and has a varied taste in hats.
Finally on the incident desk this month, cast your mind back 20 years to the heyday of British football.
Giles. And yet inside foot, there's Quicksall. Oh, and there's present for Quicksall, who's got number 3.
Albert Quicksall's goal helped Manchester United through to the 1963 FA Cup final. United beat Leicester to win the trophy, and Albert Quicksall, as the winning player, took home a gold medal as a personal reminder of victory. All Albert's medals were kept on his wife Anne's charm bracelet, which was stolen from their Manchester home on Monday the 9th of September. The bracelet had 4 medals on it, all engraved A. Quicksall. Most precious of all was a solid gold 1963 FA Cup winners' medal like this, with its distinctive shield featuring 3 lions. Then there was his Division 2 Championship medal. This one's a base metal replica of the gold original, bearing the inscription, "The Football League Champions Division 2. And look at this finely detailed Silver League representation medal. 2 like this were stolen. The market price for all these medals is very low, but to the Quicksalls they're priceless. If you've seen them, or anything else on this month's incident desks, please give us a call.
The number to ring, if you can help, is 01811 8055. 01811 8055.
Well, now the Crimewatch Incident Desk. You may not know it yet, but Crimewatch UK is spawning regional programmes, and tonight, making a guest appearance from Crimewatch South, is Constable Mercedes Birch from Dorset. Helen Phelps will be back from holiday next month, and here, as ever, is Superintendent David Hatcher.
Our first case on Incident Desk is an armed robbery. It happened on Halloween at a place appropriately called Spook Hill in Dorking, Surrey. Early that morning, this white Ford van parked a few yards down the hill from a branch of Pritchard's Security Services. As guards were preparing to deliver £23,000 in hospital wages, they were attacked by 2 gunmen. They grabbed the money and made off in that white van, which we know was stolen 2 weeks before. A passing motorist gave chase until the van was abandoned in Harrow Close, and the men raced off through a covered alleyway to Hampstead Road and got into a grey articulated lorry cab like this. It's still not been traced, and we'd like to know where it went to after Dorking. All 3 robbers were white. The first is described as being between 30 and 40, approximately 5'10", stocky, with short brown hair. The second was also stocky, in his late 20s, about 5'9". The third, the driver, was in his early 30s, slim with long hair which was swept back. That stolen van was B594 AMG. If you know where it was kept between mid-October and Halloween, or if you saw the robbery or recognise the men, give us a ring.
Next, an urgent appeal from police in Greater Manchester. Last Saturday evening, a hooded man attacked a 14-year-old girl as she walked home along Pemberton Road in Wigan. He dragged her into Blundell's Wood, where he raped her and tried to strangle her. She was beaten, gagged and tied to a tree. It's vital we trace the drivers of 2 cars, a blue Cortina and a white Cortina or Audi, with a V or Y suffix, seen in Pemberton Road around 6 o'clock. and her attacker left a clue, part of a brown-striped tea towel, like this, which he used as a gag. As you can see, the corner has been cut off and the edge turned under and hemmed. We need to find where it came from. The girl had been carrying a yellow bag, like this one, with magazines in it. They're still missing and may have been dumped somewhere. If you've any idea at all who the man is, please call us before he strikes again.
The Bowes Road branch of Barclays Bank in London had a couple of unpleasant callers on Thursday the 19th of September, but their visit didn't pass unrecorded. As the two armed men threatened the cashier, a customer walked in on the robbery. At gunpoint, she was forced to lie down on the floor. After checking the street, the men stuffed the money, nearly £7,000, into a bag and made for the door. The first man was a bit overdressed for September, but we do know he's in his mid-30s and about 5'10" tall. His partner's less camera shy. He's about 35 years old, 5'9" tall, with greying hair. Both have London accents. If you recognise either of them, do ring us.
If you live or work in South Yorkshire or the East Midlands, you might recognise this man. He's wanted for questioning by police in connection with a series of bank frauds. Here's a closer look at him, snapped in the act by an alert cashier with an Instamatic camera. So far, he's got away with more than £2,000 using a variety of false names. If you know him, or if he talks to you about starting an account, please give us a call.
And finally on Incident Desk, another picture, an artist's impression of a rapist. He's struck twice so far in Hampshire, most recently on Sunday the 13th of October when he attacked a woman in Aldershot. She remembers he was wearing trainers, faded jeans and a brown or burgundy sweater with white flecks. He's in his 20s, about 5'11" tall, stockily built, and he was driving a dark four-door estate. That L plate might mean he's teaching someone to drive. If you think you know him or have information on any of our other cases, please ring us.
Indeed, the number to call, 01 811 8055. That's 01 811 8055.
Well, now the Crimewatch Incident Desk. Here are Police Constable Helen Phelps and Superintendent David Hatcher.
First on Incident Desk, a mystery. On Wednesday the 6th of November, Philip Nixon, a 32-year-old civil servant, was murdered in a busy North London street in the middle of the rush hour. Yet no one knows why or how he was killed. Following a fireworks party the night before, Philip took the day off work. Just after 5 o'clock, he left his flat in Petherton Road in Stoke Newington to do some shopping. As usual, he walked down Fern Tower Road to his local grocer. Then instead of going straight home, he must have turned into Newington Green Road, heading south towards the Balls Pond Road. Just 200 yards further on, as he walked across the railway bridge, something happened. Within seconds, Philip Nixon was killed by a violent blow to his head. It must have happened in front of hundreds of commuters heading for North London and beyond. Witnesses may not have realised they'd seen a murder, or they may have thought he was lying there drunk. But if you were passing by and can shed any light on what happened, please ring us here.
Still in London, a violent rape in broad daylight just over 3 weeks ago, and the attacker was particularly distinctive. It happened at the back of the Copthall Sports Centre swimming pool in Mill Hill on Wednesday the 20th of November. A witness remembers a young man with a dog hanging round the footpath that leads to Pursley Road. It was here that he stopped his victim and at knife point dragged her into the bushes and raped her. You may recognise him. He's only 5'3" tall, about 25 years old, with light ginger hair and pock-marked skin, but our best clue may be the dog. It's the size of a small Labrador with a rough black and brown coat and answers to the name of Bruce. Police fear the man could attack again, so if you've any idea who he is, ring us in complete confidence.
Next we move north to Derbyshire, where Christmas came early for a tall, lanky robber. He walked into the Leeds Permanent Building Society in the centre of Chesterfield on Tuesday the 26th of November. The security camera snapped him as he snapped up about £2,500, and obviously feeling festive, he wished the cashier a Merry Christmas before he fled. With the police close behind, the robber shed his disguise as he escaped through the alleyway towards the town centre car park. This coat was among the clothes he dropped there. It's covered in these blue paint stains. Perhaps you recognise it. And remember the man we're after. He's about 6 foot tall and very slim. If you recognise him or that coat, call us.
Nearly 2 weeks ago, a farmer in Essex made a horrible discovery. The body of a boy, later identified as 14-year-old Jason Swift. Jason's whereabouts over the past few months are largely a mystery, but Essex police have now uncovered new evidence about his movements. He was reported missing from Hackney by his sister on the 6th of July. Since then, there have been several possible sightings in London and one definite one in the Stamford Hill area on November the 5th. A few weeks later, in Chipping-Ongar, Jason's body was found in a copse. The copse isn't far from the M11 and M25, and it's now thought he'd been murdered elsewhere and then dumped there. Jason was about 5 foot 6 inches tall, with brown hair and blue eyes, and his 2 front teeth were missing. If you saw him anywhere between July and November, please give us a ring.
And finally, police in Suffolk are looking for 15,000 bottles of German wine. They were on this Scania tractor unit when it was stolen from Mendlesham in Suffolk on Sunday the 24th of November. The trailer was found the following day in south-east London. Needless to say, the wine, £40,000 worth, was gone. Amongst the haul were 500 cases marked Stefan Oriel wines like this, and also hundreds of bottles of rare German wines like these, which are not on sale in shops in this country. Quite coincidentally, 70 cases of this one were destined for the Nick Wine Bar, a police restaurant in southwest London. And apart from their obvious interest in its return, there's a 10% reward. That's £4,000. Or put another way, 1,500 bottles, enough to make any Christmas a merry one.
So, if you've seen any of those on sale, or can help with any of our other incident desk cases, ring us now.
And the number to ring, as always, is 01811 8055. That's 01811 8055.